welcome, folks, to another edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider. And we are back for episode 2 of the season with my big fella fresh off of another game with his other gig with the Detroit Pistons. And the Pistons are looking a lot better this year. Every game seems like it's close. Every game down to the wire. Went to overtime last night. But the big fella is back, breaking down the Wolverines, too, here on the Basketball Insider. I'm talking about the first-round draft pick back in the 80s, but been grinding with us on the Basketball Insider, too, because before he was grinding it out in the NBA, he was grinding out with Michigan. I'm talking about Tim McCormick. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing, Sam?
Doing great, Tim. I feel like both of the teams you cover, both Michigan and the Pistons, I think we are seeing here in the early going, both these basketball teams are going to be far more competitive basketball teams this season.
I certainly hope so, because last year was brutal. It was probably the worst combination of Pistons, Michigan basketball, maybe in history. And to put it in perspective, what the Pistons are doing, they're 5-8 now. You may say that's not very good. Well, they didn't get their 5th win until January 24th last year, so they're making progress. And I really like what they're doing on the defensive end. I think that's the big key. Now, let me put on my college hat now, and I have to admit to you, my job as a basketball analyst in the NBA and in college is to look at a team and try to figure out who they are and what they do. And when I look at Michigan basketball, I watch 5 practices, 2 exhibition games, 2 regular season games. I have to admit, Sam, I don't know this team. I don't have a firm grasp on who they are, what they can become. I like the way they play. They're fast, they're fun, they're entertaining. There's plenty of talent. I think they're going to play in the NCAA this year, but the truth is there's still so much to learn about them. A lot of good pieces. They've got shooters and drivers and big men that can post, and they've got young guys and old guys. I'm still not sure who their leader is. They've got 9 guys averaging 15 minutes or more. Are you going to be able to keep everybody happy? I don't know. Their top 6 scorers are all in their first year with the program. Danny Wolf is so intriguing. I love watching him play, but he's averaging almost 6 turnovers per game. That's not going to work.
Right.
Vlad Goldin comes here as a really talented big guy, but he's averaging 4 points and 3 rebounds a game. So I think that they're going to be good, but I have all kinds of question marks too that only time will take care of.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things that we can glean from the first 2 contests. This team is going to run. Mm-hmm. They're going to get up and down. That is very, very obvious, right? Dusty said it from his opening press conference. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. We can see that in the first couple of games. We know that to be the case. I think we can see also, Tim, that while it is not necessarily what he's known for, but we can see through his hires, it was evident that he was going to try to have a defensive identity. And so effort and intensity defensively to get on the floor, you're going to have to play with effort on that end. Now, how good they are defensively, now that's another thing. Like we'll have to see how good they're going to be defensively. But the effort and intensity that they play with on that end of the floor, that's non-negotiable. I think that varied last year. I mean, maybe it didn't always vary with the Michigan basketball teams over the last few years, but last year it varied. I think over the first 2 games, we could see, Tim, that every guy on the floor, if you're going to be on the floor, you're going to play some defense. Now, how good they are, that remains. So when you say there's some things to be determined, we got a lot to learn about this team. These are 3 things that I feel like through 2 games, I feel pretty confident I can say I know about this team so far.
So what are those things?
That they're going to run, they're going to get up and down,
Yep.
They're going to shoot a lot of threes.
Yep.
And that the effort and intensity, when you're on the floor, all 5 guys, non-negotiable for the 5 guys on the floor. Because they do so much switching defensively, you can't have any guy out there lagging when it comes through the effort, the energy, the intensity that they play on defense.
I agree with all 3 of those. So I had mentioned that I'm still trying to learn this team. I have some question marks too. They're going to get pick and rolled to death until they establish what they are and what they're going to do in their pick and roll coverage. They appear to switch 1 through 4 when Danny Wolf is in there as the center. Vlad Goldin looks like he likes drop coverage, but I'm not sure. And with all of that switching, I think that's the biggest reason why they're struggling on the glass. There's just chaos in there, and it's kind of like if you're switching that much, they always talk about how you can't rebound out of a zone because you're not really covering a man, you're covering an area. Guys are cutting through, and it's kind of random. And so I think that's been a little bit of their problem on the boards. They're covering. You've got big guys covering little guys and little guys covering big guys. And so I think that the communication will get better with that. And then the other issue, you said they want to run. They really, really do. But if you're not rebounding the ball, that really hurts you as well. And then also, I want to know who's the go-to guy. Maybe you have 2, but it appears to me that they've got like 5 that can be go-tos. And I saw some uncertainty against Wake Forest where when they needed a shot, guys were saying, oh, I did this at my last school. Give me the ball, get out of the way. And so there were times that things got stagnant. But as I said at the beginning, I'm not sure, but I really like what I'm seeing. And more than anything else, I think they're fun. I like the way they play. They play with great joy. And they go hard. I was disappointed. I expected them to beat Wake Forest, and I did walk away really impressed with some of the things that Wake Forest does.
Well, a lot of great analysis there, Tim. They get up, 13 or so points in the first half against Wake. I mean, you feel like you build a double-digit lead. I know it's a first half lead, game's far from over, but you feel like, man, you feel pretty good about your chances of winning that game when you get up like that, right? But I remember asking you last week, you feel like offensively their running game is going to be a lot of their offense. But I asked you, what are you going to bank on in the half court? You remember I asked you that?
Yeah.
What are they going to bank on in the half court? And all right, now we're going to get into the question marks. I don't know what they bank on in the half court. And you're right. They have a lot of guys who are used to being the guy on their team. And I think a large part of averaging 16 turnovers a game have a lot to do with, okay, well, yeah, I'm used to being a man. Let me go do it. Trying to do too much. And, figuring out if I'm used to being a primary ball handler, and this is one of the things that when we get to Danny Wolf looked great in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Great in the first game. Now, he still had, 5 turnovers in that game. And you're going to run. You want him to be a facilitator, right? But, he doesn't with some constraints. And so it's going to be interesting. How much creation do you want him to do? How much do you want him trying to put it on the deck and create for others? Right now, he ran a nice 2-man game with Roddy Gale, and it was a little bit of a hot pass. And I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with that, but there were some times that you felt like, it felt like he was trying to do a little too much at times. He has 11 turnovers in 2 games, Tim. And so I look at that and I say, these are pieces of it where maybe it'll calm down in some games. You do need some role definition. And I kind of want to see Vlad Goldin get established. I kind of want to see Vlad Goldin be demanding the ball. I want to see him get on the block and say, give me the ball. I want him to Tim McCormick. I know Timmy Mack say, hey, fellas, give me the ball. Right? Like Hunter Dickinson would say, give me the ball. I want to see Vlad say, give me the ball, because that's one of the things that you're counting on. And I know one of the things that I said to you, I was expecting some Vlad Goldin, Roddy Gale action, or maybe some Trey Vlad two-man game action. I want to see some of that in the half court. I think these are things that maybe you can count on in the half court. And these are things that we haven't really seen in the first 2 games. It's only 2 games, but these are things that I think that maybe they can build on in the half court.
There you did it, Sam. You sent me into the low post, so I'm going to talk post play with you. And I remember sharing this story with you in regards to Hunter Dickinson. When I was playing for the Sixers, we had a great point guard, Mo Cheeks. And so there was a switch, and I was posting up Reggie Lewis. And I wanted the ball badly, and Mo swung it. He went to the other side, and during the next time out, I said, what are you doing? Like, he can't cover me. Why don't you give me the ball? And he said, you didn't look like you wanted it. I want you begging for it. If you don't look like you want the ball, you're not getting it. And it was a great lesson. So from that point on, man, I was begging, I was pleading, come on, throw it in here. And that's what it took. And so the reason that's so important for Vlad Goldin is that he's playing with 6 other new guys, I guess more than that have never played with a big man before. The high school kids definitely have never, and the other transfers did not play with a 7-footer. They don't know how to play with a big guy. They didn't play it in AAU, so this is all new to them. Where does a big man like the ball? How do you fake left and throw right to be able to get it to them? How do you get it to their guide hand? How do you let them work and get their established positions so they don't get an offensive foul? Those are all the intricacies that they didn't know. Now, Will Cheddar, he knows. Jace Howard, he knows, because they played with a center. They played with either Hunter Dickinson or Terrace Reed. And so that's going to come along with time. And as long as I'm in the low post, let me talk about Danny Wolf. So I talked to him last week, and I said, what's it like for you to play in this offense compared to last year at Yale? And he got a huge smile on his face. He said, when I was at Yale, I spent my entire game with my back to the basket in the low post. And I love the fact that Coach May has given me the freedom to roam around, to knock down a 3, to set a screen, to swing the ball. Like, I've never done this before. Why do you think that he's had 11 turnovers in 2 games? This is all new. Plus, you consider the fact that he's going against much better athletes. They're quicker, they're stronger, they're better basketball players. And so this is all wildly new to him. And I would liken it to anytime a high school kid goes to college for the first time, the speed of the game can be overwhelming until you get used to it. So I'm going to kick it back out to you on the perimeter, Sam.
Yeah, well, it's and it brings about another thing. And I heard Mike talking about this in his presser. I want to say this might have been earlier today. Talking about rebounding. And listen, Michigan's one of the tallest teams in the country, Timmy. I think he said they're the sixth tallest team in the country, according to KenPom. I have to look it up to see if I got that stat right. But you would expect for a team that tall to be better when it came to rebounding. And, if you look at the last part of that game against Wake, and they couldn't buy a rebound. How many offensive rebounds did they get in that last sort of pivotal possession, Tim? It was like they couldn't buy a rebound, and that wound up determining the game. And so one of the points that he made, he said a lot what he feels like they're going to see is teams kind of maybe sending an extra man at their big, sending an extra man to Vlad or even Danny Wolf. And he said, listen, we are on our guards, and we feel like just in general, the guys on our team, they aren't instinctive rebounders. So we gotta teach them. We gotta school them on being rebounders, be learned rebounders. Learning about angles, learning about where balls are gonna bounce, and especially our guards. Our guards have to be more active on the glass, especially because we got guys with size. We got guys with size. You talked about it last week. We got guys with a little, they're strapping. They got a little mass to them. They have to be more active getting on the glass, and we feel like that's going to help us with rebounding. Hasn't manifested yet, but that's something that we're going to work on more and more as the season goes on.
66% of shots that are taken from the left side, if they miss, will go on to the right side. Those are the kind of numbers the guards need to understand. And I agree with the fact that Goldin and Wolf are not natural rebounders. That they get their spot anchored down and they hope the ball comes somewhere in their area. The guards need to do a better job of helping out and filling in those other spaces. And I kind of liken it to when Dennis Rodman played on the Pistons. Isaiah and Joe and Vinny and the perimeter guys would leak out because they just assumed that he would get everything and they would start the break. That's not the way that Michigan is, and they're going to definitely need the guards to help out more on the glass.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that really evolves. But Mike, Coach Mike Boynton, for those who don't know, I'm sorry for using first names. You'll get more familiar with the coaches. Before we could say Sadi, and you would just know. We'll get more familiar as we go. But Coach Boynton was challenging the guys outright. He said, "Listen, we knew watching practice, our guys are going to have problems rebounding. We just knew. Our guys are not natural rebounders. We could they just don't instinctively just get after the ball. So we have to teach them. Hey, this is where the ball is going to come off, and teach them about box. We have to teach them the skill of rebounding. You can learn to be better rebounders, and our guards have got to participate, and they are physically equipped to do so. And so we are going to be better because we're committed to being better. So
let me put a bow and a ribbon on that comment. Michigan is big. They were outscored by 10 points by Wake Forest in the paint. So that cannot be a weakness for such a big team.
Yeah.
So here's another thing I want to bring up. I really like Trey Donaldson. Like he's one of my favorite players. That guy's tough. He's very balanced. And I was thinking he's the best point guard since who?
Best point guard since who? I mean,
would it be Eli? Would it be Rockman?
Okay.
Mike Smith, no. Frankie Collins, no.
He's better than Frankie Collins. I think he's gonna be better than Frankie.
Doug McDaniel, no. I think you've got to go back a ways.
Guys, I think he's gonna be better than both of those guys.
Yep.
And here's the thing, I want to see Trey be more of a. It's only a 2-game sample space, but I want to see him be more of a focal point offensively. I was talking to Daniel Horton about this on the Dime Show. He already is showing you he can shoot some threes. He was putting it on the deck a little more, but I said it a couple of minutes ago, Tim. I was talking about 2-man game action with Roddy and Vlad, but some 1-5, ball screen action with Trey and Vlad. I think let's get Trey going downhill, going to the rim. I want to see that because I think that him being a decision maker, coming off a ball screen, and then I want him going to the rack and working more on finishing through contact. Because I think he has the physical makeup to do it, And I think that this is something. It's a one game sample space, but I'm thinking of the layup late in the game that wound up being a miss.
That was huge.
It was
Huge
huge.
play.
It was a huge play, but I think, and it might have just been a random thing, but man, I'm thinking that's a shot that he's gonna make 9 times out of 10, and probably 10 out of 10. Tim, we need him getting downhill, doing that more often, because this is a guy that I think is going to be can be a weapon doing so, because he can be a playmaker, and I think he is a guy that is physically equipped to be a finisher if given that opportunity more and more, I think, as we get deeper in this season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And you're right. That was a monumental play in the game, that missed layup. And think about it. Michigan was in a great position to win. And you got Donaldson missing basically a breakaway. You had a couple of threes that were off. Then Danny Wolf slips on a wet spot. And then Roddy Gale slips on the wet spot that occurred when Danny Wolf hit the ground. And all of those plays in a row were just backbreakers. And I feel like my whole tone would be so much different if they could have pulled that game on. Not that it has any long-term ramifications, but that would have been great. And Sam, what'd you think of Reuben Jones? He's pretty darn good on the defensive end.
Yeah, he's pretty darn good on the defensive end, and he can shoot it.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
It's like, wow, okay. It's another shooter that they got on this squad. I think your part. What was your prediction? Michigan leading the league in 3-point shooting?
Yes.
I think that's going to be you got a pretty good bet there. That one's going to come out. Pretty good chance of that one being right, I think.
Right. And Reuben Jones did not even practice the week before Wake Forest. And I thought that he was a real key covering Hunter Salas. Wake Forest is a good team. They're going to be in the top 3 or 4 in the ACC and in the NCAA tournament. So that's not a bad loss at all.
Yeah. And so, next up for them is TCU, Jamie Dixon. Right, long-time coach, very successful coach. We will always remember him from Pitt. This has a potential. Tim, I don't know much about this TCU team. Every team is different, but they apparently get up and down. So this seems like a recipe for a very high-scoring game.
Yeah, Jamie Dixon is a defense-oriented coach. Everybody in the Big 12 plays physical, and so they were in 3 straight NCAA tournaments. They lost 9 players, and now they've got a bunch of freshmen and a point guard named Frankie Collins. We know him very well. He had a great year at Arizona State last year. He's a dynamic playmaker, scorer, passer, and so that he's going to want to put up a big number. I would be surprised if he doesn't score 20 points in this game. He's going to want to put it on Michigan badly, even though he won't know anybody that's there except for Chase. But he's going to want to put it on Michigan.
Yeah, Mike said they led the nation in transition points the last couple of years or something like that.
Maybe Arizona State. I don't know if TCU did, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this really how this one flows, and if they can keep the turnovers down, if they can keep it out, that's a stat that I'm really gonna be looking at in this game. Do they take better care of the basketball? I know a lot of people are gonna be looking at the rebounding stat. I would be looking at that rebounding stat too, but turnovers and Vlad, those are the ones I'm gonna be looking at more than anything else in this game. Do we see them keep the turnovers down, and do they get Vlad established? Does he get more demanding? That's one of the things I heard you say, Tim. I was thinking about that Mo Cheek story. You said, hey man, big fella got to call for it. Big fella got to ask for it, to the point where he's going up to his guy, hey man, give me the ball. Sometimes you got to, Not, to be, you are going to beat somebody up, but you got to get in the face of your team and say, man, give me the ball. Make an issue of it. If I establish position and especially if I got a matchup, man, give me the ball. If you don't give me the ball, we're going to have a problem. Sometimes you got to be like that.
Well, he seems really content to catch the ball with his feet above the block. And I think that he would be better off when the ball swung up on top to be able to slice cut right into the kill zone, right in the middle of the paint, and get your arms out like a 747. Okay. Like he's like this. He's got alligator arms. He's blessed with his great wingspan. Get his hands way out there like a 747 and then demand the ball. Then you're catching it. It's a straight on jump hook that's actually hard to miss. The other thing is, I think his guys are going to learn that when he catches the ball, kind of like John Teskey did. John Teskey was never a pure scorer, but his guys learned that if he got the ball, they could make really hard basket cuts, and then Teskey would also share the ball on the weak side. And with Vlad playing better, I'm kind of curious on what that does to the bench minutes for the big guys. Sam Walters was really productive in only 13 minutes. And Will Cheddar, who had a great off season, he only played 12 minutes. There's not a lot of minutes available at the 4 and the 5 position.
Hey, the Google AI is something amazing. Tim, I asked Google AI, I said, did TCU lead the nation in transition offense? And it says, yes.
I didn't know that.
Texas Christian University has led the nation in transition points for the past 2 seasons. A category.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and it says, we are still trying to run this. It actually gives a quote from Jamie Dixon. We are still trying to run and lead the country in fast break points, Coach Jamie Dixon said. So there you go.
It seems like whenever I watch them, they were getting run on by Kansas and Oklahoma State and Iowa State. That's a tough league, but I feel like it's more half court. So I learned something here. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, wait, look, I didn't know that. I didn't know it. I heard that. I heard Mike Boynton say it. so it's not, I'm not coming to you with a stat that I just had. I heard Mike Boynton say it. And when I heard Mike Boynton say it, I said, oh, well, this is going to be interesting. 2 teams that want to run. Wow. This is going to be a track meet.
This is another thing to watch moving forward. LJ Cason might be their best pure scorer. And I think he's going to keep taking people's minutes because they seem like they're better with him on the court. Thoughts?
Yeah. So my thoughts are they're going to need some of the older players to kind of keep him in check emotionally. I love his aggression. I love him getting to the rack. But there were some times where you could kind of see his emotions kind of getting the best of him a little bit. Something would happen and you would see him kind of hack a little bit, almost maybe pick up a foul, maybe get a little too aggressive. The refs kind of let it go a little bit, but you could see that maybe the youthful exuberance maybe kind of get him in trouble if it's not reining in a little bit. So I want to see, as we getting deeper into the season or you getting some situations in games, some of his big brothers on the court kind of put their arm around him, say, calm down, young fella. Love the energy, love the game, and the skill, and the dog that we see in him, because you're right. No, even more so than Roddy is a bull. Roddy is a dog. He can, once he gets downhill, he's getting to the rim with aggression. But I think of all the guys on the team, when it comes to putting a move on you, crossing you over, or getting to the rack with quickness, I think LJ Cason is the best guy on the team as far as that's concerned, Tim.
Here's a couple of comparisons. Pistons played against the Nets recently. Cam Thomas, big time scorer. He's undersized, combo guard. Just give me the ball, get out of the way. And Tyrese Maxey with his speed, pure speed, end-to-end speed for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's got some of that. And if he can continue just playing with the same pace all year, I could see him on all Big Ten freshman team. I'm a huge fan of his. and he's going to get better and better. But you're right. Don't be that hot flame that just burns out. Just stay right where you're at. Get 10, 12 points a game. Learn how to play better defense. Be a good ball mover and a teammate. He's got the mental makeup to be a star.
Yeah, man. I'm interested to see if he ever gets matched up with Frankie in this game.
I bet he will. If
you
keep Frankie in front. Hey, Sam, I wanted to share a story with you that I thought was pretty entertaining. And it kind of relates to where the Michigan team is right now. This is a tough period because they have so many new guys and they're trying to integrate a new style and everybody's got their way of doing things. The best way you can build chemistry is watching film together, going on the road, eating pregame meals. Those are all wonderful. But I was talking to Jace Howard before the season started, and I said, how is the chemistry on this team? And he shared a real quick story. So Dusty May is clearly an innovator, and he improvises, and he was worried that the guys don't really know each other well. So he had his staff put together a basketball card for every single Michigan player. And it had a nice picture, their number on the front, their position. But on the back, it had all kinds of facts about what their favorite restaurant or food is, what their hobbies are, what they want to do someday, where is their hometown, all that information. And he consolidated and gave everybody on the team, every coach, a pack of basketball cards. And they opened it up and he said, I want you to start studying your teammates and their cards every day. And then he started calling timeout in the middle of practice. And he would say, LJ, what is Vlad's favorite food? And so he was expecting the players to know all this information about each other. And he felt like if you know each other off the court, you'll know each other on the court better. I thought that was a really innovative way to teach chemistry.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that is cool. If you take the time to get invested in your teammates that much, man, I think there is some carryover. I think that there is some carryover if you take the time to really get to know a guy. I think that there is a natural sort of there's a natural sort of investment that kind of carries over that where you're going to take the time to really get to, I'm going to find out what's his spot on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
Where does he like the ball? I think there is something to that. I
want a pack of the cards, Sam. I'm going to try to get a pack of cards. I
think there is something. I mean, and obviously it worked. I mean, Dusty's been very successful. You look at how he built his team at FAU. This has obviously worked because he had transfers that he was able to mesh and meld the team. So, was past what worked in the past. I think is destined to work again in the future here. So, let's see if they can get on the winning track here at Michigan. Get back on the winning track with this game against TCU, and we'll see if I'm gonna have to get out and go see the newest Wolverine because you called it. We can also now celebrate that Trey McKinney is in the fold, officially in the fold, the newest Wolverine, as he committed to Michigan last Saturday, Tim. So that's a big pickup for the Maize and Blue.
So, Sam, I live 2 miles from Orchard Lake St. Mary. Let's go to a game. I will buy your admission into the gym. I will buy you some popcorn.
There, man. It's on, Tim. I cannot wait to see if Orchard Lake, led by the 5-star Trey McKinney, can get it done again. And that is going to be a fantastic sight to behold because it is already exciting to see how the Sparties are up in arms at a guy from Flint chose the University of Michigan again. That does my heart well. It also does my heart well, Tim, to be with you once again on the Basketball Insider. These are always fun shows to do. And I predict, Tim, next time we do it, we're going to be doing it talking about a victory. What say you? I know you predicted a victory over over Wake. That didn't happen, but you think the Wolverines are going to beat TCU?
I'm optimistic. I see good things, and they say that there's a big improvement from game 1 to game 2. I think the big improvement comes from game 2 to game 3. I think they took a lot away, and I'm not saying at all that this is a must win, but they really need, if they're going to build an NCAA resume. There's all kinds of opportunities, but this would be a really good one because I think TCU is an NCAA team too.
Yeah, so they play TCU tomorrow at Chrysler, 6 o'clock.
I'll be there, Sam. Yeah. I'll be there. Come find me. All right.
I will come check you out, Tim. And then, of course, they play again on Monday against Miami. We'll have another show before their next matchup against Tarleton State. So, but we'll see you next time, folks, on the next edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider.